Hello, Virgo. Welcome to Soul Good. I'm Amber Marie, and this is your March 2023 Tarotscope. In the description box below, you will find all sorts of goodies, including a timestamp. If you would like to jump to the start of the reading, please do remember that this is a collective reading, not a personal reading. Take only what resonates with you and leave the rest. Let's get right to it, Virgo, and see what is going on for you this month. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us about Virgo's theme for March 2023, please. Okay, so I gotta pause because I just heard the word attachment. For some reason, I feel like some of you may have attachments to certain behavioral patterns, habits, thought processes, wounding, trauma, programming. I'm actually even getting victim stories or victim mentalities. And that may not be for everyone, but it's definitely a message coming through. And as a matter of fact, I'm being reminded again of when I was shuffling for your reading, Virgo, I actually got this message of healing, of March being a healing month for you. Or rather, that you've been progressively healing or being given the opportunity to heal for about a year. Right, over the past year. So since March 2022, I feel like you've been given opportunities to heal certain things. Now, whether or not you've taken action on those things, obviously it's your story, you'll know. But I do feel like that may be taking place for some of you and has been for some time, or at the very least, you've been given the opportunity to do that. Okay, so what is, thank you. Tell us about a truth coming through for Virgo this month, please. What is the truth for Virgo this month, March 2023? A truth for Virgo. What is a truth Virgo needs? That was interesting. I thought for sure that was coming out, but it was like, oh, there they are. Thank you. Okay. Tell us about a lie that a Virgo needs to know about this month, please. What is a lie Virgo? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I'll take that one. Tell us about okay. I feel like if you noticed all of those cards flipped over like that, and I took the one that fell. Here's the thing, Virgo. I'm just going to be straightforward with you because it's kind of how I roll. And I'm going to try to be as tactful as possible. But I do feel like for some of you, and this may not resonate with everyone, but for some of you, I definitely feel like there's a whole lot of lies that you've been telling yourself. Again, like, I could hear you. I can hear you, Virgo. I can hear you, like, immediately rejecting that, triggered, perhaps, right? And like, I'm just the messenger. I share what I feel intuitively, energetically. And so if it's not your story, it's not your story. But if you're triggered, it's probably your story. I'm just saying. I feel like for some of you, you are telling yourself lies and have been telling yourself lies about whatever it is in your experience. And I feel like I was sharing at the top of the reading when I shared the intuitive message, I feel like this is something that may have been being brought to your attention for about a year now. Okay? And you are still being given the opportunity to address things. Now, whether or not you do that, you have free will, it's your choice. But do know that not addressing them is also a choice. Okay? Do what you want with it. Again, it's your story. Tell us more about Virgo's theme, please, for March 2023. Yes. Thank you. Tell us more about a truth for Virgo. Thank you. More about a lie for Virgo this month. Tell us more about that, please. Thank you. And finally, tell us more about a lesson or blessing for Virgo this month. Wow. Okay. Let's jump in. Let's get to it, Virgo. Here we go. What is your theme for March? Ooh, you got the Phoenix coming out. Yeah, you're being given the opportunity to be reborn, to experience life from a completely different space, right? To spark or reignite that flame. So I feel like depending on where you're at, what you're experiencing, I feel like there are some of you who are going through this rebirth process currently. So, what I mean by that is, I feel like your life has probably changed significantly over the course of the past year, and you will see this coming full circle now. I feel like you will start to experience that rebirth process. So maybe you feel it's kind of funny because I'm kind of seeing this as like uh a bird who's like just been hatched, as it were, and doesn't really have its bearings, or like a chicken that's just been hatched or whatever. And it's or even you could probably relate this to any animal, right? Like a deer with like wobbly legs, or a horse that has wobbly legs. Like I feel like things may feel very uncertain or a little bit shaky, right, as you start out, because I feel like you've went through this rebirth process and are discovering things as you move forward, and so things may feel a little bit unstable, but I feel like it's part of that rebirth process. For some of you, I feel like you're being thrust into the flames, and it's brand new. You know, you're being given an opportunity to be reborn. Whether or not you take that, obviously, is up to you. Let me see. So with this card, this is an aspect of spirit. The animal spirit deck has within its contents the elements. So earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. With the spirit cards, I've been reading the interpretations from the guidebook. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you, just to give you an extra layer. If I can, where are you? There it is. Okay, so think about this in regards to your theme for the month. Freedom from suffering and past karma, reincarnation. The phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it, denying it, or burning bridges with rage. The phoenix employs an advanced technique described in yoga as the burning of impurities through practice and dedication. The essence of the phoenix is with us when we realize we have been suffering too long and something must change. We take a stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the phoenix is lit, and the great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we have done. The stuckness and dead weight fall into the ashes, and a lightness and clarity emerge. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the phoenix lifts our spirits up and up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again. We may catch a glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely. It's a sign the fire of transformation is upon your wings. So it also talks here about the phoenix and the first chakra. The ancient yogis believed that our heaviest karmas reside in the first chakra. This earthen center is also called our root. The ascent of the phoenix begins here, and as the entanglement of karmas is slowly burned, it rises from the ash toward the navel center. Again and again, it makes this journey from first to third chakra, purifying our essence, freeing us from the past. So Virgo, I do have to share with you that as I was trying to read that, like I found myself salivating a lot, like a lot. So I do feel like there are, how do I word this? How would you say this? I feel that for some of you, there is this thirsting for a new experience. Again, very much like that Phoenix said, it is when we know we've been suffering for too long and something needs to change. So I don't feel like that's going to resonate with everyone, but I do feel like there are some listening who That's exactly what's happening. You're thirsting for change, but I want to lovingly say, if you don't change, things aren't going to change. Your external reality is a reflection of your internal experience. So if you think that you can avoid doing the internal work and your external reality is going to change, I want to lovingly say you are sadly mistaken. Take what you want from that. It's completely up to you. But I felt like I needed to share that. You also have the bee here. So here's the thing about the bee. The bee is a very hard worker. And I do feel, Virgo, many of you, like many of the Virgos I know, are very hard workers. But I also feel like you're likely very critical of yourself. So I'm just going to pause for a second, because if you are someone who is critical of yourself, incredibly critical of yourself, even maybe to an obsessive point, and yeah, are always, yeah, like I it's interesting because I the way I see it is almost like almost like an infinity sign or a circle or a loop, where you're like critical and then you kind of move away from it, and then maybe you're critical again because you didn't do something or something didn't turn out the way you wanted to, and so you're critical again. It's this like endless cycle of just criticizing yourself over and over and over. And to be honest, tapping into the energy, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I feel like it could likely, for some of you, be taking its toll on you physically. Now, I'm not a doctor. I will not and do not give medical advice, but I will lovingly say that when we hold on to things, when we're out of balance, it often manifests in our experience as illness or dis-ease, right? Because we're out of balance. So I do feel like for some of you, there is something about that. And I feel like for some, it's like maybe you're critical because you weren't able to accomplish what you wanted to, or maybe, you know, sometimes you fall short, and or whatever it is, whether it's a physical thing, a mental thing, I don't know. Ooh, it's really, so this is really fascinating. I need to pause for a sec. Oh my gosh, pardon me. I'm getting fear coming up, like a lot of fear. And my stomach isn't easy. I feel like some of you have issues with your stomach, problems with your digestive system, or something like that. And I feel like there may be some fears that need to be released. And I feel like it's like, you got to put the work in. You've got to put the work in, and it's not easy. I want to lovingly say, facing yourself and dealing with your shit is not easy. It's not at all. That's why a lot of people don't do it, because it is very difficult to face yourself, to face your shortcomings, to see where you've sabotaged yourself, where you've held on to things and been attached to things that you're not supposed to be holding on to. When you've been telling yourself the same story over and over and over again, putting yourself in a box or a cage and limiting your own growth, right? I feel like it's very hard to do, but you have to be willing to put the work in. There's an element here of not simply talking the walk, but walking the walk. I do want to read the bee to you if I can find it. But again, I feel some of you are critical of yourself because you feel like you're not doing enough. And then I feel like there are others of you who are just critical of yourself overall, and you're not putting the work in to remedy it. You just keep criticizing yourself instead. It's like, I don't know. Again, it feels like a circle. It feels like running in circles. But okay, let's look at this from the perspective of a theme for your month overall. It says here, earnest, hardworking, democratic. The bee personality is a delight to be around, especially when there's a team project on the horizon. Bees love to work steadily and thoughtfully until the final task is complete. They are sensitive creatures, aware of many subtleties at once. Since they're artists at heart, they usually add creative details to the overall vision. For the most part, they have bustling, joyous personalities until they're too tired from all the work, then they gripe and sting. When in balance, content, active, vibrant. When out of balance, overworked, annoyed. to bring into balance, mini vacation. So I really do feel here, like for some of you, there's a need to allow yourself to accept that the work that you're putting in or have put in is enough, and to maybe take a breather, right? Especially for those who feel like you're going through this rebirth process this month, or that you've been reborn. If you feel like over the past year, you've put in a lot of work, you've done a lot of, or put in a lot of effort towards your healing, you've been examining yourself and making changes in your experience. So now you're at this rebirth stage where you are coming up, as it were. I feel like there's a need here for you to allow yourself to just breathe, like take a vacation, step back, like give yourself the time to process and integrate and get your bearings, kind of, right? Get your footing. Like I was saying, I got that feeling of like being a newborn animal and not being able to walk very well, right? Let's see what else you have here. The vulture. Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because all of these things have wings, every single one of them, at the top of your reading here for your theme, right? For your entire month, you have all winged things: the phoenix, the bee, and the vulture. And with the vulture, it's this very important energy. Why? Because things either have, or so you've either already experienced this or you will. Okay, so for those who already have experienced this, there are things that have died, decayed, that have no longer serving you. You likely already know what these things are. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go. Okay, it's time to clean up your space, to get rid of any lingering anything around what you've worked so hard to heal and overcome. For those who are not yet at that space, it's time to examine your experience. Take a look around. See where there are things that are stagnant, where there are things that are decaying, where there are things that have died, things that are no longer serving you, and begin to address them, because they are likely polluting your experience. Okay, so it's like, I mean, for example, like you wouldn't want to live with, let's say, this decaying carcass on your front porch, on your front steps, right in front of your door to your home. You wouldn't want that just sitting there, right? Because it's gonna smell. It's very unsanitary. It's gonna be like you just wouldn't want it there. And so it's like, okay, you know. Or rather, like, so for example, if you've already done this, it's like, get rid of that stuff, clean off your porch, right? Clean out your space. And for others, it's like, there's something that you know deep within, to some extent, that's not right. It's like you can smell that something has died, but you don't know where it's coming from. Or maybe you haven't taken the time to try to figure it out. You've just kind of been living with the stench, right? It's like, where are the things that have decayed? Figure out what that is and clean it up. Put the work in. Wowzers. Because I feel like, now whether you call it God, source, universe, doesn't really matter to me. I refer to it as God. And I feel like the reason why all of these winged creatures are showing up around your theme is because whatever stage you're in, I feel like God has been trying to help you take flight. God has been trying to move you from one space to another, but you have to be willing to spread your wings, because God can't make you fly, right? God will pick you up off your face if you fall, but like, God can't make you fly. So you've got to be willing to put the work in. Okay? Damn, it's so heavy. It's so heavy. What do you have here to clarify? Baby steps. Action. Follow your intuition before it makes sense. Yeah, start small. Start small. No one's telling you gotta, like, if you haven't been in this space yet, like, no one's telling you to face everything all at one time. No, face what you can. Start small. Figure out. Like, I would say start by analyzing. You're good at that. You're good at it, Virgo. Like, I mean, and I say that with so much love, but it's let's be fair. Okay? You're good at it. So start there. Start by taking a look around. And then for others of you who have already been or feel like you're kind of in this rebirth, right? Baby steps. It's okay to move slowly. You don't have to criticize yourself. Move slow. Take those steps slowly. Make very responsible, logical steps. Now, I know that kind of is contradictory because it says follow your intuition. But let's face it, many of us who have relied on our own knowing have not done a really good job. Okay? Like, we've discovered that relying on our own knowing has not really taken us where we need to be. Okay? So logically, it's like, try something different, but take those baby steps. But actually do it though. Right? Because the key here, I feel, is the action bit. Right? As long as you're moving, that's what's important. Don't sit. Don't be stuck stagnant, because it's not going to be helpful for you in the long run. And I feel like those who are avoiding, denying, ignoring, like pretending they can just not do the internal work, I want to lovingly say that pressure is only going to build, and it's probably going to get really uncomfortable, especially with Saturn entering Pisces this month. Okay? Because that's that, like, Saturn is about responsibility, right? So it's going to essentially, like, hey, you need to look at this. Okay, let's see what else we got here for you. Double mission, light worker starseed, serve the world by being you. So I do feel like for those who have faced some pretty intense darknesses, whether, you know, these are things you have faced or not, I feel like part of that is saying, or part of this has this light worker element to it, in the sense of the reason that you've been thrust into these things in your experience is so that you can be the light worker you're meant to be. So light, for, how do I word this? A light worker is a light worker because they illuminate the darkness. Light workers experience the darkest parts, some of the darkest parts of humanity, in order to shed light upon them. So I feel like there's this element of experiencing the darkness so that you know that you want the light. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because I do feel like, I mean, there's this element here. Look, like, we have the vulture with its a darker energy, and then we have the phoenix, which appears to be rising from the darkness. Yes? And up to the light. And I do feel like this is an opportunity that you're being given. And I do feel that if you are able to move into a space that is more in alignment with the truth of your soul, underneath the programming, the wounding, the trauma, the victim stories, the victim mentality, all the things, like, if you're able to move through that and heal from those things, I feel like there's this beautiful opportunity for you to take those experiences, take what you've learned, and to help others, to serve the world through what you've experienced. So if you've experienced, you know, maybe you've overcome addiction, maybe you've experienced some trauma, some incredible trauma in your experience, maybe, you know, maybe abuse, maybe you've seen some horrific things in your experience and you've survived them. That could be your avenue of helping other people. So if you've overcome addiction, for example, you could be somebody who helps others to do that, to encourage them, to be that light, to show them it's possible. Okay? So it's like denying the parts of your, like, how do I word this? I feel like some of you have denied parts of yourself or pushed them down or whatever. And maybe you've talked about it. Maybe you've talked to yourself about it, whatever it is. But I feel like if you're, how do I word? If you're walking through life like this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, and it's the story you're telling because you want people to respond to you in the sense of like, oh, like, how do I word this? If you're unable to hold your own energetic space and you are energy pulling by telling someone about this horrific thing that happened to you, and you want them to just, oh my gosh, like I can't, oh, like you did that, wow, right? Instead of, you guys, I'm really trying to not come off insensitive, and I apologize if that's how it's coming across, because that's really not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to point out the fact that there are ways to serve the world from a place of strength, from a place of bravery, from a place of, this isn't about me, this is about helping you. And then there are spaces that you can come from through these experiences where you can want people to fall all over themselves to give you the energy that you are not able to hold on your own. And that energy, being able to hold that energy on your own, comes from working through your own stuff, releasing your attachments, releasing your codependencies, or healing them. All of the, like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And again, I'm not trying to say this to be insensitive or tactless or anything of that nature. But as someone who has overcome some really unpleasant things in their experience and has learned how to hold their own energy and to not pull from people, it's possible. I know that it's possible. I've experienced it myself. It's hard AF, but when you put the work in, it really does transform how you view these things and how you view yourself and how you view the impact that can be created from those experiences. So if you're moving from a victim space, you can see the impact as bad. Like, this completely ruined my life. This has been awful. This has been whatever, whatever. But if you become the alchemist and you put the work in to transmute these things, then you will see it as from a place of, oh wow, this really taught me a lot about myself or about people or about my experience. And I would not be the person I am today had I not experienced those things. Right? So it's less of, this is happening to me, and more of, this has happened for me. And I'm going to be honest, like, that's a hard pill to swallow. Truthfully, it is. I've had to do it many times. But it's not impossible. Okay? It's not. You just have to be willing to do it. Whew, yes. So, yeah. I mean, you do have here, hold on, releasing fear. And a lot of it, and deep fear at that. But I feel like it's healing. Right? You have here as a clarifier as well, deep cellular healing, Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. So that is the theme for you this month, Virgo, right? This is why all of this is happening, is for you to be able to experience that deep healing. But again, it's got to be a choice. You have to be willing to do it. But I do feel like if you take this and allow this to unfold, and she has they're like wings. They look almost like a butterfly, or dragonfly or something. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. It's not really focusing very, and hopefully you can see it. All right, so you have wings again. I feel wholeheartedly like God is trying to take you to the next level. God is trying, oh, thank you, Lord. God is trying to set you free. But again, you can't lead a horse to water, or you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know what I'm saying? So God is trying to set you free. but you've got to be willing to do it. And I feel like if you can find the courage within you and what is the word? How do I want to word this? Like, if you can persevere and, yeah, be resilient, I feel like it could really truly transform your experience. But again, it's got to be a choice. You have water your garden, nourishment, body care, tenderness, and rest. So that's really interesting, especially with that B card and what I spoke on earlier, especially for those of you who have already been through this, right? I do feel like for those that have already been through this, so it's interesting because if you look at this, it's like two different sides of the spectrum, right? We have like the phoenix with baby steps and action over here, and serve the world by being you, step into your purpose, take flight, Virgo. And then for others, I feel like you are learning to clean up your space, which is creating this deep healing. That's not to say that you maybe haven't experienced both sides of this, because that's also very possible. But in the middle here is like you can either like work hard and put in the effort and then rise, or you could potentially criticize yourself for whatever things aren't going the way that you would like them to, and continue to experience, you know, a more unpleasant life or external reality and stagnate. But here's the thing though, I do feel like you have either way, wherever you are, if you're on the end of this vulture, like you, and you have yet to face your things, if you have yet to delve into your things, you have this opportunity here to truly create this deep cellular healing by addressing the things, cleaning up your space, and putting the work in, right? Nourishing yourself. How do you do that? Well, with good people, with good food, with good habits, with good rest, with, you know, nourishing yourself with good things, with things that are going to help you through this experience, right? And I do feel like being tender with yourself, and I know I may not have sounded like this through the beginning here, but if you can be tender with yourself and forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know, and put the work in and rest when needed and nourish yourself, give yourself the opportunity to grow, like stop being so critical, I feel like, again, you could experience a huge transformation. Why? Because you're watering your garden and then you allow new things to bloom. Whew, I feel like some of y'all are like not gonna like me at all, which is okay, it's fine. But I feel like there's could be some who are like, I cannot stand this girl. Whew. Let's take a look at the truth. Let's take a look at the truth. You have the peacock here. This is beautiful. This is beautiful because I feel like, again, it's another freaking flying thing or thing with wings. I don't know. Do peacocks fly? I don't even know. But it has wings. I know that. Or feathers, at the very least. I mean, I have one actually sitting right here. So it has feathers, and I feel like there's this, again, the truth is like, you have an opportunity to fly. You have an opportunity to take flight, right? Like, and it's interesting because like when I've used this as a like a thing, you know, somebody peacocking, right? Is like they're like boasting, kind of like, look at me. And I feel that you are, how do I word? You're being given this opportunity to step fully into who you are, right? That double mission, serving the world by being you, that phoenix rising, right? There's been a lot of times where I've used this, I don't want to say in a negative context, but more of a egotistical context. And in this case, I feel like it's coming through more of a, look at what I've done, look at what I've overcome, and look, you can too, type of thing. But let's take a look at the book here for the peacock. I think it's interesting. You have so much air energy. That might be relevant for you. Maybe you have air in your chart. Maybe you have a lot of air in your life or around you, like your person or your kids or family or something like that. The other thing with air energy, though, is it's this aspect of awareness, right? Perception, changing your what you see, how you see things, like observing things from a different space. So I do feel like that's going to be something. But let's take a look at the truth here and dive in deeper to this peacock card. It says inner beauty, compassion, a simulator of anything. The beauty of the peacock is unrivaled. It's easy to think it comes from the plumage, but the secret of the peacock is that the beauty resides within and extends outward indefinitely, right? So as within, so without, like I was saying. This adept creature can assimilate or digest all experiences in life, so it does not harbor resentment, conflict, or past pain within its psyche. The peacock type is extremely rare. Not many of us have reached this advanced level of acceptance of self and others. When in balance, confident, kind. This is going to blow your mind based on what I was speaking on earlier about digestion and maybe experiencing some of those issues. When out of balance, can't digest situations. To bring into balance, meditation on navel. So, like I feel like the truth of the matter is here is that you're being given the opportunity to release anywhere you're holding on to resentment, conflict, or pain. Right? To take those experiences, to find forgiveness, and to allow yourself to see things from a very truthful place, from a very, like, a higher perspective, right? Because again, this is essentially, many people think it's like, oh, it's the plumage that makes the peacock beautiful. And here it's like, no, but it comes from within and extends outward. Right? So basically, I feel like it's this element of seeing things past the surface, diving or delving deep within to confront any resentment or conflict or pain that could potentially be flowing over into other areas of your experience. This is wild. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here for you? The wolf. So this is interesting because it's a different energy completely, and I do believe, let me just check. I think that's earth energy. I'm not very well versed with the symbols, so the alchemical symbols. So yeah, okay, so that is earth energy. So I do feel like this is a part of this is getting more grounded. Okay? And I feel like there's something here about, I want to say it's like time to yourself, because I don't know what it is. What is it? Are you guys like always surrounded by people, or maybe because you work so hard, you're always put at the front of the pack kind of thing? I feel like there's the truth of things here is to like let someone else take the lead, kind of do the kind of lone wolf thing for a minute, let yourself like come back to earth. That's how I'm seeing it, because there's all of this air energy, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, ground, right? And we're looking at the truth here, and I feel like the truth is you need to come back to earth, come back to your center, come back to a space where you're grounded. It's really, really interesting to me. What else do you have here to clarify? Lost lands, soul memories, and gifts. You've done this before. So I do find it really interesting how similar these are in color. And they're reminding me of water. So I do feel like there's something here about addressing emotions. Again, going inward, doing that work. I do feel as well, I feel like there's, how do I word this? It's like, I feel like the truth is there's something you're missing. And if you get quiet, if you give yourself the ability to step back, I feel like you will remember or connect with some aspect of yourself that you've forgotten or hidden or pushed down, right? I just feel like there's this need to come back to self, to get grounded, right? It's really interesting to me because again, I feel like for some of you it's like your emotions may have run away with you. Look at this energy here. It's like flooded. Okay? And with that water being there, the water element is about emotions, relationships, feelings, your spirituality, intuition. So I feel, and it's flooded. Okay, it's flooded. I feel like for some, your emotions, which is what I'm picking up on most heavily, maybe your relationships for some of you, but I feel like it's like it's flooded and there's a need to kind of come up out of it. Get yourself back on like solid ground. And I feel like if you spend some time alone and go within, I feel like you'll be able to do that. Or figure out how to navigate it. It's really interesting energies. I almost feel like, you guys, I want to lovingly say, I feel like some of you, once I came to this part of the section of the reading, when I'm like, what's the truth? I feel like some of you have blocked it. Whether intentionally or like whether consciously or not, for whatever reason, I feel like the wall went up. It's almost like, and that would tell me that there are some of you that don't want to see the truth, that are comfortable, as it were, swimming in the waters, for lack of better terms. Let's take a look at a lie. We have the sea serpent here. So again, with like that watery energy, that blue type, watery type of energy again. And here's the thing. The sea serpent. So I want to express this very, very carefully. We're looking at a lie here. Okay, so this is not going to be read in the same way it would if we were looking at it from a more neutral space. Okay, and the way that I'm picking this up right now is that like chasing your tail, going around in circles, right? And this looks like an eye. It always reminds me of an eye no matter how many times I see it. And I feel like it's like, you know better. Maybe you're telling yourself, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I keep experiencing these things. I don't know why this keeps happening. But you do though. But you do. Right? And I'm like, I say that so lovingly. We've all been there. We've all been there. And even if you have these people who are like at the top of the top healers who've been doing this for decades, or whatever it is, and they've like figured out the secret to life, as it were, even those people had to go through these things where they had to see themselves for what they really were in that moment. And it's not pleasant. We've all chased our own tail. We've all lied to ourselves about what we do or don't do. And this is one of those things where, because of the shift that is taking place, it's imperative, I feel like we're at a crucial point right now where if you're not dealing with your stuff, like the pressure is only going to build. It's only going to get that much more uncomfortable because the planet and its inhabitants are raising their vibration. We're healing. We're moving towards this era of love and acceptance and acknowledgement. And if you're not doing those things, it's only going to get more uncomfortable. I use this analogy with a friend of a friend a couple weekends ago, or a little while back. And I said, if you are somewhere where somebody has like shitty energy, what do you do? What do you want to do? And she goes, well, you want to leave. You want to get away from it. Of course. Of course you do. Similarly, if you're high vibe and there's somebody over here who is lower vibrational, there are some who are bold enough to go toward that frequency, even though they're not a match for it, because they want to feed off of it. And then there are others who it's like, oh, that frequency does not, like, it doesn't feel good to me. It feels very uncomfortable. It's like being out in the sun and needing sunglasses because it's too bright. Okay. And so what, it's similar to that. As the vibration of the planet rises, like those that are like think it's too bright, as it were, are going to be like, oh, I need sunglasses. Oh, I'm really uncomfortable. I need sunscreen. Oh, I need to be in the shade. Oh, I'm sweating now. Oh, this, oh, that. And it's only going to build as we move forward. The next decade is going to, I feel intuitively that and this has been talked about in astrological or astrologer circles as well, is only going to, it's going to change. It's not going to look the same, right? We're moving into the age of Aquarius, out of one way of being to another. So that discomfort is only going to grow if it's not addressed. And so again, like, I feel like this is why these readings are probably hella triggering for a lot of people, because it's like, it's bringing things to the forefront, because I feel God wants us to move forward. God wants us to experience something completely different, right? But again, as always, take it if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. It's not my story, it is yours, and it's not going to hurt my feelings if you just ignore everything I've just said. It's perfectly fine. Let me open the book here for this spiritual aspect so we can dive deeper. Oh, look at that. Boom. Are you ready for this? So again, we're looking at this from a space of a lie. So I'm going to read. There's a part that's like, if it's not activated, that's going to be the part that I would like for you to focus on or acknowledge if you can, because we're looking at a lie. Okay. So the sea serpent is a representation of healing emotional wounds and expressing desires. The sea serpent represents the energy of expression, whether it's emotions, creativity, sensuality, or desire. The sea serpent helps us move and direct our energy into a healthy current. When the essence of this card is in balance, we express ourselves creatively and sexually without fear or shame. We know what we desire most. Our hearts are at ease and our relationships are meaningful and enduring. We loosen the grip of self-judgment and we let the cool waters of forgiveness in to heal our wounds. When the energy of the sea serpent is not yet activated, which again, we're looking at this from a lie, so this would be the part that would be a focus, or for many would be a focus. Okay, where was I? When the energy of the sea serpent is not yet activated, our emotions and creativity are left in the muddy waters. The current of expression stagnates in some areas of our lives, and in other places it floods. Are you serious? I was just, okay, yep. It's important to remember, no matter what the waters of our emotional lives look like, the sea serpent loves us just the same, which I feel, I just want to pause for a moment and point out, like, it's important, regardless of wherever you're at, however this reading has resonated with you or not resonated with you, whatever you may feel, like, it's important for you to understand that God loves you either way. Okay? God loves you either way, and God will always have that door open for you to heal, to learn to love you, right? Like a mother, she wraps herself around us in a gesture of protection. She supports us as we learn to express our true natures. The subtle energy of the sea serpent occupies the area. I'm probably going to say this wrong. The yeah, I don't even know the Svadhisthana. I don't know how to say this, but I believe it's your sacral chakra. I could be totally freaking wrong. But I do believe the sacral is the one that's connected to sexuality. This chakra, or excuse me, located deep within the pelvic bowl, this chakra is known as our center of creativity and desire and is associated with the water element. That really long word I can't say translates as in her own abode, indicating this chakra is the home of the Divine Mother or Kundalini herself. So I want to say, if you've already done a lot of work, right? Oh, my belly is rumbling. If you've emptied yourself of a lot of the things, right? You've done a lot of work. I feel like there's this element here of, on this side of it, the truth, right, is seeing how beautiful you truly are, and understanding that comes from within and radiates out. And I feel like you could stand very powerfully as a leader to many people because you've done so much work, and I feel they will see that as inspiring, right? Which is like, it's beautiful because there's this soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. So I feel like you've rediscovered parts of yourself, and that puts you in this leadership position where people look to you for guidance and see you as somebody strong and powerful and beautiful for that, regardless of whether you're a male or female. And then from this side here, right, coming into this lie space, if you're somebody, I'm just going to stay on this track for a moment, who's done the work, right? I feel like there could be some lingering things where maybe you feel like, God is going to punish you, or is punishing you, or has punished you, or maybe will continue to punish you for something that you've done in the past. And I feel like there's an element here of understanding that that's a lie. Like, God will hold you, God will love you no matter what, and you're not being punished. Okay. This is for you to learn and to grow. And if you think about this from the perspective of, say, a mother, for example, then what that mother would want you to do is to learn from your experiences, right? The mother is not going to hold these things over your head. The mother is not going to sit here and let you beat yourself up about it. It's like, no, listen, sweets, you freaking touched the stove. It was hot. You learned your lesson. Don't do it again. Right? Just as an example. So I feel like for some of you, that lie has been like chasing your own tail, thinking that you deserve some sort of punishment or pain or I don't know, whatever it is. So there's that. On the other side of this, I feel like if you're somebody who maybe hasn't faced the things, dealt with the things, I feel like the lie is that you've been telling yourself you don't know why things are the way they are. And the truth of the matter is you do. And you've been chasing your own tail. And there are things that have been stagnant, right? That's shown up more than one time. And again, flooded, right? You're like flooded with these things that aren't serving you. Now let's get some clarity though. Yeah, fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites, extremes of life. So like I was saying, right? And it's interesting because it talks about, with this sea serpent here, about how some areas stagnate and the others flood. And similarly, there's this holding the opposites, extremes of life. So if you've been telling yourself, like, I don't know why this is happening, yeah, you do, because you're like hyper focused on this thing and not dealing with this thing at all. Whatever those things are for you and your story, right? So I do feel like if you surrender to the fact that there are things here for you to learn and gain, and then move on from that, I feel like it will, again, change things significantly and create an immense healing. You also have here, child of the cosmos, the intelligence of the universe lies within you. Like I was saying, I feel like you've been saying, for some of you, not everyone, for some of you, I feel like you've been saying, I don't know why this is happening, but you do. You do though, dear sweet Virgo, you do. And it's interesting because I have this little zodiac cheat sheet, and on it tells the more, positive aspects, if you will, and negative aspects of Virgo personality or the Virgo sign. And one of those things is excessive attention to insignificant details, right? So it's like getting caught up in the things and like hyper focusing on, like I would say, like one area and avoiding another. But I feel like you know that you're doing this to some degree, to some extent, somehow, you know. Maybe you dream about it, maybe you know, find yourself like saying the same thing over and over and over again, and you're like, why is this happening? Right? It's like, but you're focusing on it though. And what you focus on grows, right? I want to oh, my belly is rumbly. Why is my belly so rumbly? These things usually happen, like the energy manifests within my body physically while I'm doing readings to give me signs, and I feel like I'm trying to delve into what that is, tap into what that is, because I feel like some of you, how do I word, let me think on that for a minute. Because I feel like there's some aspect of like emptying yourself of for some of things that you know to be true, but are, again, it's like, I don't want to see it. That's okay. I'm gonna read this, right? Consider this from the perspective of what we've discussed with the sea serpent, right? Paying attention to some areas, not paying attention to others, not allowing our wounds to heal and forgiving ourselves. So it says, there's a mysterious force that governs all of life, an intelligence that tells flowers when to bloom and the tides and seasons when to come and go. That intelligence is within you too. It was there before you drew your first breath, and it will be there well beyond your last. It's the part of you that informed every cell what to do when you were in your mother's womb. It's harder to resist this force than to surrender to it, because Earth is a planet of polarity and free will. It's easy to forget that this intelligence exists within us. So often we become disconnected from this pulse of life and fall into the pattern of believing that we're separate or feeling that we need to go it alone. We can feel isolated and as if we need to figure things out for ourselves, to rely on our own strength. That's interesting, because if I remember correctly, I've spoken about this within your reading. You're being called to remember the intelligence that's within each and every one of your cells, to remember that you're a precious child of a loving, gentle universe, that you have access to all of the intelligence, wisdom, strength, flow, and qualities there ever were, are, or will be, and to remember that if flowers know exactly when and how to bloom, then you do too. How can you surrender more deeply to the intelligent flow of life? Right? So again, I get this feeling. I notice all the blue still, so much blue. I feel like, again, there's this element here of, you know what needs to be done. You know what needs to be addressed. You know that there may be things that maybe you haven't really been giving as much attention that it needs. And if you allow yourself to surrender to that inner knowledge, then I feel like things will flow much more easily and things will balance out, okay? Whew, let's take a look at the lesson. Blessings. You have octopus here for your space of lesson and blessings. And here's the thing about the octopus. The octopus is this energy of needing boundaries, lacking boundaries, right? It's giving too much time and energy to things that are not serving you, people that are not serving you, right? It is allowing other things that aren't serving you, other people that aren't serving you, access to your energy. And I want to lovingly say, I feel like part of your lesson is you're not a 7-Eleven. You shouldn't be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all all times of the year, right? Like there's a need for you to back up. Some things should not have access to your energy at all times. Like for me personally, like the only thing that I feel should have access to my energy, not like nonstop, is God. It's pretty much it, right? Like nothing else, especially without my consent or permission. But I really feel here there's a lesson here in establishing boundaries and really deciding what it is that you give your energy to and what you don't. That includes programming, trauma, wounding, victim stories, behaviors, habits, people, situations, jobs, living situations, right? Like what deciding, like putting yourself, if you will, on an energetic diet. What am I giving my energy to? Am I watching the news all the time? Is it making me feel like shit? Okay, maybe I should stop doing that. Right? Does it create all this fear within me? Am I feeding fear? Am I dumping my energy into fear, anxiety, worry? Right? Again, not everybody's going to resonate with this because it's not for everybody. It is for the people that are like, listen, I know there's something off in my experience and it needs to change and I'm ready. I'm ready. Right? And I'm saying that with so much love because if you're not ready, you're not ready. That's not wrong. It's not bad. It just is what it is. Okay? But I do feel like if you're here, if you're watching this, if you're still here especially, then you've been given this incredible opportunity to establish boundaries, to figure out what is good for you and what isn't. What is going to help you to grow and expand and take flight? What is going to lighten your load? And what is not? What is weighing you down? And for some of you, there's a need to reconnect with God. You think you're separate from, but you're not. You may think God has been punishing you, but you're not. You're just seeing it that way. Change your perspective, right? Look at things from a different space, a higher level. And understand, like, God is waiting for you to lay your burdens at its feet so you can take flight. But in order to do that, you've got to be willing to give up the things that are not serving you. You have to be willing to lay them there. You have to be willing to see your shit, right? It's not easy. I'm saying this with so much love because I've been there. I've been there. There's times that I'm still there. There are still things I'm dealing with and still things I'm working through every single day. I've got 30 some years of trauma and wounding and programming. It doesn't just go away because you've worked on it for 5 minutes. It's not that easy. Okay? So again, I'm saying it with so much love. I want to point out here though, I just want to look at the key words here for the octopus just to show you. Like I'm not bullshitting. All right? Reaching, yearning, lacking boundaries and direction. All right? So I'm not just saying this shit to like say it. It's not how I do things. All right? I love you guys so much. Like I really hope that, you know, in learning these things, that you're provided with a different perspective. I'm not saying any of these things to be mean, to be hurtful, to be insensitive. I'm saying them because I would love to see everyone take flight, to see everyone flourish, to see everyone rise, to heal, grow, step into the soul gifts that they have so they can serve humanity as a whole, because the ripples you create affect me. Maybe that's not something you understand. Maybe that's not something you've ever heard before. Maybe that's something that maybe you want to look into, but we're all energy. Okay? So I'm just saying. Yes. The lesson is here. You get to decide. You get to decide. You have, I remember this, soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. The fated life is that density that you come into being born on this planet. The destiny life is the path that your soul created, the plan that your soul created before incarnating here. What you wanted to learn, what you wanted to experience, how you wanted to be of help to humanity, to the planet, what you wanted to go through in order to grow, in order to expand, in order to raise your consciousness. And you get to decide. That's the lesson. You get to decide, right? Am I going to step into this space where I, for lack of better terms, fall victim to the density of this, of my experience? Or am I going to decide that this is not what I'm here for, that I have so much more within me to offer, and that I'm going to step into that? I don't know. I mean, it's your stuff. Let me just share this with you. I'm going to read the octopus because I feel like it's important, and I just want to clarify you just real quickly before I do that. Oh yeah, I opened up right to the page that fast. So it says here, the only reason I'm reading this is to clarify the difference between the two based on the author's interpretation. So the fated life is the one we were born into. The destiny life is the one our soul chooses, and it takes courage and faith, right? If you pull this card, it's because you're likely now face to face with the choice to follow the destiny life over the fated life, which is the lesson or the blessing, depending on how you look at it. It could be both. But it does say here with the octopus signifies a wonderfully perceptive, mind paired with a lack of healthy boundaries. Unfortunately, this results in well-intended but messy relationships. The octopus entwines itself into other people's business and shares their own without restraint. They believe that's what it means to be close. If you notice after spending time with someone that you feel drained or uneasy, the essence of octopus is at play. Begin to establish healthy boundaries. Be patient and firm. It may be a very old habit to change. When in balance, interested, engaged, intelligent. When out of balance, needy, clingy, lacks courage to bring into balance, space to one's self, or talk therapy. Right? So isn't that fascinating, right? Because we were just talking about this I Remember card with the soul plan, fated life versus the destiny life, and how it takes courage to step into that space. Okay? So Virgo, that's what I have for you for March 2023. I know some of y'all are hating me right now, or, maybe, I don't need shaking your fist at the screen. And that's okay. If that's where you need to be, that's fine. Right. But I feel like it's such an opportunity, and a beautiful one at that, to transform your experience tremendously. Should you find that courage within you to rise, to take the steps, even if they're baby steps, to move more towards being who you truly are at your core, not your trauma, not your wounding, not your stories, but who you are at your core. And who you are at your core is unconditional love. At your core, underneath all of the shit, that is who you are. And I hope and pray that you are able to find your way back to that this month and be reborn into that space. You guys, I love you so, so much. I really, really do. If something in this reading has resonated for you in some way, shape, or form, or helps you to navigate your month somehow, please do the YouTube things by liking, sharing, commenting, or smashing that subscribe button. It really does help the channel to grow, and I truly, truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your attention with me. It's been an absolute pleasure to read for you. And again, I pray that you are able to step fully into everything that you are supposed to be, rising from the ashes of your former experience, stepping fully into your soul's plan with confidence and courage. Have a beautiful, expansive month. Take care of your incredible, unique soul. Peace be with you, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.